Paul Krugman had a piece in the paper, I think it was today. And the head of his column is what caught my eye. The head was Understanding Republican Cruelty. Yeah, those two words go together neatly, Republican and cruelty. They really do. They truly do. It's been my observation over more than half a century that Republicans are incapable of all the things that I've talked about before. Empathy, sympathy, understanding, connectedness. They can't. They're different from you and me. They're different from normal people. They are severely emotionally handicapped. They are deprived of those qualities that we normally associate with humans. They just don't have them. And I think the vast majority of Republican voters don't have them either, those qualities. Krugman writes, the basics of Republican health legislation, which haven't changed much in different iterations of Trumpcare, are easy to describe. Take health insurance away from tens of millions, make it much worse and far more expensive for millions more, and use the money thus saved to cut taxes on the wealthy. Now, it raises the question for me that it's very easy to understand the Republican health care bill, whether it's coming out of the House or the Senate. And God knows there have been enough reports, without getting into details, that the average American would, it would make the average American cloud over and go take a leak or something to get away from the technical language. Well, the newspapers and television stations have tried to keep it non-technical and just say, look, here's what will happen. And that's not us, the editorial board of a newspaper, talking. It is the Congressional Budget Office. Which probably 99.7% of Americans have never heard of, and since they've never heard of it, it is immediately suspect. But anyway, all the information in very simplistic language, with no technical jive turkey nonsense, just simplistic language that we all can understand. An additional 22 million people will lose their health insurance under the Republican plan. $800 billion over 10 years will come out of Medicaid. That money will be transferred to the wealthy in the form of tax breaks. I mean, that's very simple. Stealing from the middle class, the working poor, stealing from people who should never be stolen from, and giving it to people, the wealthy, who have already stolen every goddamn thing they can get their hands on. I mean, you don't become a billionaire by doing things legitimately. You don't. I'm sorry, you don't. Behind every massive fortune, there's a crime story. We all know this. Even the Kennedys. Not that they're the touchstone of all this, but it's true. Even Bill Gates, Mike? Yes, even Bill Gates. So Republican voters understand, unless they're totally illiterate, functionally illiterate, and just go to vote because somebody says, oh, don't vote for the broad. You know that bitch? You're going to vote for that bitch, Hillary? Oh, man, you're crazy. Vote for a real man. Vote for Trump. Presidency belongs to a man. White man, really, but So they go do it. And a lot of times that comes from their preachers because, the original woman, Eve, caused all sorts of shit to happen. Eve brought us death, according to this bullshit in the Bible. But the bullshit in the Bible is not bullshit in the Bible to people who really believe the Bible. It is received wisdom. Of course, Eve caused all this. And God punished her and all subsequent women Talk about collective punishment. Because you ate of the tree of knowledge, all women will have great pain in childbirth. And people don't say that this God that they believe in is so fucked up, he is so sick and psychotic to do something like that. Come on. Where was I? Republicans. That's right. So they buy into the bullshit Republicans do, and they can't see a very simple truth. They're going to, the Republicans, you stupid voters, are going to take away from you one of the critical lifelines that you have left, Medicaid. They're going to take it away from you and give it to the rich people. And you're sitting there on your asses, and every time a pollster asks you what do you think of Trump? Oh, yeah, I like Trump. Yeah, hell yeah, I'll vote for him again. Wow. So the fact that the Republican plan to take health insurance away from millions of people and give it in the form of tax breaks to the wealthy, and be willing to accept that is beyond. I mean, I can't even get my mind around it. That's one of the things that continues to make me furious. It's not so much what Trump does. Trump is a fucking liar, a thug, a thief, a grifter. The type of con artists that they make movies about. And why that is so obvious to someone like me and not obvious to every single person in America is beyond me. Now, Trump may not understand that taking health insurance away from millions and giving it in the form of tax breaks to the wealthy, he may not get this, according to Krugman. Reporting by the Times and others, combined with his own tweets, suggests that he has no idea what's in his party's legislation, but everyone in Congress understands what it's all about. Krugman writes, the puzzle, and it is a puzzle, even for those who have long since concluded that something is terribly wrong with the modern GOP, the puzzle is why the party is pushing this harsh, morally indefensible agenda. All right, so think about it. Losing health insurance coverage is a nightmare, especially if you're older, if you have health problems, if you don't have the financial resources to cope if some sort of chronic or critical illness strikes, you're fucked. What are you going to do? Krugman writes, and since Americans with those characteristics are precisely the people this legislation effectively targets, tens of millions would soon find themselves living this nightmare. And that's the part that is astonishing to me, that both the House and the Senate versions of this ridiculous so-called health care insurance, whatever the hell you want to call it, this repeal and replace bullshit, targets the people who are older, have health problems, or lack financial resources to cope if illness strikes. That's who's being targeted. It's not young people, healthy people, wealthy people. It's who I just said. In other words, a lot of those people who voted for Trump. And this is a payback, a knife right in your goddamn throat.